Okay, so everyone, thank you very much for joining. So today we have a very eminent personality with us. We have Vishal Kaushal sir with us. So sir has been excelling in his academics since the very beginning, being the district topper in the senior secondary school examination. Then he went on to pursue his interest in computer science engineering, like many of us, from the reputed Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, and excelled there as well, thus being honored with the silver medal in 2004, way back in 2004. It shows Sir's consistency and inclination towards academics. Sir has an experience of more than 12 years, working at many of our dream companies such as Oracle. He worked there till 2010. Then he went on to work in BMC Software, where he even went on to win the VIP Star Award till 2012. Then, then he got on to share his knowledge and pursue his passion by joining the renowned Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, VIP, where he went on to receive the Best Faculty Award every year from 2012 to 2016. Presently, Sir is a research scholar at the esteemed Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, and is working in the field of machine learning and artificial intelligence in computer vision. Actually, after reading Sir's profile, I had to recheck with the team if Sir is taking a PDW session or a machine learning Python session. Okay. So after all the consistent academic achievements, what truly makes Sir extraordinary is his passion for shaping the future of youth by voluntary youth welfare activities, for which he has been invited for talks and seminars in various colleges and corporates all over the country. And he personally counsels many youth and families in living a healthy, happy, and holy life as per the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So, uh, here is Sir. We welcome you, Sir. If you could just turn on your. So, let us all welcome Sir with a huge round of applause in Zoom style. So, we welcome you, Sir, and
Okay.
I hope the students are already very excited. So, most of the students have joined. We have more than 180 participants. So, we hand it over to you, Sir.
So I'll share my screen. You stop sharing your screen. Okay. And so you can just once confirm, Aman, if everybody is able to see me, everybody is able to hear me, and everybody is able to see my presentation. Can you
Yes,
just
sir.
confirm? Okay. Okay. So let me begin then.
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much, Aman, for a warm welcome. And a very good afternoon to all the participants. I see there are about 180 participants who have joined online. So a very warm welcome to all of you. I was told that this is an online PDW, a personality development workshop, which is going on. And today is probably the third session of this workshop. Ideally, I would have loved to be in front of all of you, and I would have loved to interact with you, and I would have been happy to know from you all how has been your experience and how you are liking these sessions. But the fact that 180, 183 of you are currently joined, and you all have been writing these tests and all that kind of is an indicator of how you all are liking these sessions. So my thanks to all the hosts and organizers for organizing such wonderful program online. Okay, so with this, let us begin without any further delay. Let us begin what is there in store for us today. So the topic of the presentation, as you all are able to see, is being human. What Corona has taught us. Okay. So as we all know, the whole world is currently struggling with this infection, with this virus called coronavirus. So many other theories are also going around, whether it is real, whether it is fake or whatever. But as far as statistics are concerned, as far as the situation of hospitals and all that is concerned, certainly it seems to be something real. And I hope all of you, wherever you are at your respective places, at your homes, I hope all of you are healthy, all of you are safe, all your family members, I hope all of you are doing good. And in this period of lockdown, I'm sure all of you have a lot of time also with you, and I hope and pray that you all are not wasting time in any activities which are not productive. And I hope you all are very nicely utilizing this time to upgrade your skills, to learn newer things. And in that sense, I'm so happy that you all are a part of this very, very wonderful personality development workshop. So let me first of all congratulate you all, to have taken this very, very wonderful, intelligent decision of joining this online workshop. And I'm sure this is going to help you a lot in life. Okay, so as I said, the currently our world is struggling with this attack of coronavirus, and the whole earth, at least until a few days back, it was, like completely closed down. The whole earth was closed down. I mean, this has never ever been seen before in the history. Of course, every 100 years we have seen those things, that every 100 years something like this is happening. The last time it happened was in 1920. But the impact this time has been even more prevalent because the whole world has become very small now. People are traveling to other countries every other day, and through social media, the whole world is like a very small place, and the whole world being locked down is actually a very, very big thing. And times like these, so in the lockdown now, what is happening is, in most places, you see there is no malls, no movies, no restaurants, those things which have been considered so vital for our life, for our day-to-day life. I mean, there are people who can't imagine life without malls. There are people who can't imagine life without movies. There are people who can't imagine life without restaurants. And all those things have been closed down since last 2 months, in fact, more than 2 months now, right? So such times, they force us to ask questions as to, oh, so life is moving on even without these things. That means there is something else to life, right? I mean, we thought that, all these things are so critical for life that without these, we will die, we will not be able to survive. But we have seen in the last more than 2 months that looks like life has something more to it. And not only that, it has also made us think that life, when it comes to matter of life and death, everything else loses its meaning, right? Is it not? So, I mean, can you ever imagine that something like an Indian government taking a step of closing down the entire city, closing down the entire state, closing down the entire country, at the cost of everything else? Why? Because there is a matter of life and death. That means when it comes to human life and death, everything else loses its value. Everything else loses its meaning because life is most important. And in this regard, we also have understood some very, very important things. For example, I came across this very nice quote about consumerism, which says, we buy things we do not need with money we do not have to impress those whom we hate, right? Just ponder over it for a while. We buy things we do not need. Most often, these malls, these advertisements, they bombard us, with a lot of things, lot of advertisements. They kind of tempt us to purchase so many things which probably we do not need with money we do not have. So they end up creating a lot of agitation in the minds of people. And even those who do not have money, they also want to go for loans. And by taking loans, they want to purchase those things. And ultimately, all this for what? To impress those whom they hate. So you have a neighbor, like when I was small, there used to be this ad of Onida TV in television, right? And it used to say, owners, neighbors envy, owners pride. You see, so when you purchase an Onida television, the neighbors automatically become envy, right? And then the neighbor would want to purchase something better to make you envious, right? So that's how things typically go on in the lack of any other higher principles. So when we go through tough times like these, we realize that, oh, this whole consumerism, trying to purchase so many things here and there, all these brands, this, in fact, now Honorable Prime Minister has even talked about being Atmanirbhar, right? That means, we should go local, right? That means we should try to produce as many things as possible in our own local regions, right? So with all this, we realize that, oh, there was a big bubble which has kind of burst now. And if you go further, there is this was at a more practical and a tangible lifestyle level. But if you go at a more philosophical level, you see what Dalai Lama says: man sacrifices his health in order to make money. Then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health. And then he is so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present nor the future. He lives as if he is never going to die, and then he dies having never, ever lived. Right. So this, though it sounds a little kind of a tongue twister or a word jugglery or something, but if you really think about it, it's really very, very deep. Right? People in the chase of money, in the blind chase of money, they sometimes even compromise their health, and later they compromise money to get that same health back, right? They live in present as if they will never die, and they die as if they never lived, right? So these things, they make us question as to, is this all that is to life? or is there something else to life? And that's what we are going to ponder over in today's presentation. So typically, as we see human life, right? If you see typically any human life, it begins with our birth, right? And then, you know, almost all of us, we go to school, we make friends, we graduate, we get a job, we fall in love, we get married, we have baby. Now in Indian context, divorce maybe still not be that common, but still it's picking up. Divorce, you see, now this is a standard human life cycle, you know, which has to go through these things, right? And then eventually retire, and then, you know, make a will and die, and this whole thing continues, right? So any intelligent man, he thinks that, you know, what is this whole cycle all about? You know, I take birth, I go through all pains and pleasures, and then I die, right? So what is the meaning to my life? Is my life nothing more than just, you know, going through this journey, right? Or is there something more to it? We all are running in a rat race, right? From pillar to post, you know, in trying to improve our economic situation, you know, and then suddenly all these things happen, and, you know, they come as a sudden break to everything, right? And then, you know, we wonder, oh, that means what all we were doing all this while, you know, was not really meaningful. That means there is something else in life. There are some other higher truths of life, right? Otherwise, it's all like a rat race, and everybody, we are sometimes so busy running a rat race, you know, that we do not even realize that where are we going. Probably we are going in a wrong direction. You know what is the biggest problem with a rat race? The biggest problem with a rat race is that even if we come first, still we will be called a rat, right? But we are humans, right? So human beings are not supposed to be just running in a rat race without thinking where we are going, what we are doing. And that's why you see, it's not just about, you know, some spiritualists or some religionists, you know, who have been thinking about these. There have been now any intelligent man, you know, anybody who has little bit more than some common sense, you know, will actually one day or the other ponder over these questions. For example, you see, as nicely depicted in this cartoon, you know, all the other species of life, they can only think about eating, you know, somehow surviving, reproducing, you know, defending themselves, right? That's all they can think about. That's their only worry, right? But human beings certainly will think about all these things, because we have a body and we need to live and we need to survive. But human beings will also think about what is it all about, right? I mean, we just take birth, we do something, and we die, right? Then why did we take all this pain? Like, you know, I don't know if you all have seen that Sprite ad used to come several years back, right? Wherein this one boy, he was sitting in a lawn under a tree, and some other guy was telling, "Arey, why you are wasting time? Why don't you work?" And this guy said, "Okay, what will happen after I work?" He said, "Oh, after you work, you will get a good job." And he said, "Okay, what will happen after I get a good job?" He said, "Oh, after you get a good job, you will get good money." Okay, so what will happen after I get good money? Oh, after you get good money, you can build a bungalow, you can buy a car, you know. Okay, what will happen after that? Oh, after that you can relax. And he said, "That's what I'm doing right now," you know. So sometimes, you know, unless we understand what is the real purpose of life, you know, and what is all this, you know, meant for, what are the higher truths of life, what is this entire creation, what is this world, right? Everything else actually becomes meaningless. And that's where those who have little sense, those who have little bit intelligence, they actually understand and they inquire about these things. And to add to these, you see certain harsh realities of this world. You see certain paradoxes of modern times, right? You see bigger houses on one hand, but you see smaller hearts. Like, you know, some 50 years back, or, you know, if you ask your grandparents, you know, some 30 years back, 50 years back, you know, people may have had smaller houses, but they had bigger hearts. They were not shy in inviting people to their home. They were not shy in celebrating festivals together. The whole village sometimes would come together. They will take, you know, they will participate in each other's joys and sorrows. But today, there may be bigger houses, but there are smaller hearts. We are not even able to accommodate our family members. And that's how the hearts have become smaller. So this goes to show that something is wrong somewhere. More medicines. Today we have certainly many more medicines, but we have lesser health. I mean, even now I can see people of 95 years of age who don't have specs. And today children are, you know, taking birth with some space, you know, trying to somehow manage their specs, you know, like that they are taking birth, right? So more medicines, lesser health. More comforts, certainly, no doubt, we have more comforts today, but still lesser time. So we have all these inventions. Earlier, to go from one place to another place, people would take 2 days, 3 days, you know, to go from one place to another place. And today, in a matter of 30 minutes, you know, we can go from one place to another place. So surely we have saved a lot of time. Surely it is very comfortable. But then what are we doing in that saved time? And even though we have saved time, still everybody is always complaining about time. And it appears that 10 years back, 20 years back, 50 years back, people had all the more, I mean, people have had all the time in the world, you know, to spend time with their family members, right? To do whatnot. So in fact, I'm sure, you know, in these lockdown times, in this corona situation, so many WhatsApp messages have been floating around. about how, thanks to lockdown, we are now able to spend time with family, right? So what were we doing before that? What were we running about? What were we running behind, right? So it also goes to show to us that what are certain paradoxes of modern times, wherein we in the race of achieving something, looks like something else has been left behind. So in this regard, there's a very, very interesting story which I would like to share with you. So once there were five boys, who were sharing an apartment. They were staying together in a flat, right? And they were staying in like the 15th floor of a building in Bombay. And they all probably were studying in some different colleges or working in some companies. So these five friends were staying together in a flat which was at the top of 15th floor of a building. Now, they were living nicely, happily, enjoying nice time together. One fine day, at night they went to some party, and then when they were returning from the party, it was like midnight, right? And then and to their surprise, they found that there was a massive power failure, a major power failure, because of which the lift of the building was not working. And since it was there since several hours, therefore the backup was also not working. So now these five boys, there was a big task in front of them, that they have to climb stairs for 14 floors to get to their flat, which is on 15th floor. And they all, they had returned from the party. They all were in a very good mood, but seeing that the lift was not working and the backup was not working, all of them became miserable, because who would climb 14 floors of the building? And certainly they can't stay whole night outside on the road. So then they came up with an idea. They said, okay, we are five of us, let's do one thing. Each one of us will share a nice story. Each one of us will share some interesting anecdote or a joke, and then while discussing like that, we'll gradually we'll climb the stairs, and laughing, and sharing some stories, sharing some jokes, sharing some incidences. We'll somehow climb the stairs, and we'll be able to somehow forget our pain, right? So every student, every boy, they decided that they'll share some stories and jokes for 3 floors, right? So first boy, he narrated some stories, he narrated some jokes, like that. They climbed 3 floors. Then the next boy's turn came. He also narrated some stories, some jokes, some idhar se udhar se kuch to maza masti masala, then they also climbed 3 more stairs. Aisa karte karte, when the turn for the last boy came, you know he said that he actually started crying. He said that, "Arey yaar, there is a big problem." And they said, "Arey, what happened? Now it's a time to celebrate. Now we are just there. We have already climbed 12 floors and we are just 3 floors away, and then we'll be in our home and we'll sleep peacefully. So please share your story. Please share your joke." He said, "I have no joke to say. I have a very sad story to share." They said, "Chalo, chalega, sad story chalega. Abhi to aa gaye, chalega. Suno, sad story suno." So then he said that, "You know what? I have left the key of the flat, down in the car." And then all these, four other boys, they started beating this boy like, anything left and right. And the story continues. So what we learn from this is, that many times in the journey of life, we, in our attempt to run fast, in our attempt to climb higher, in the ladder of life, in our attempt to run faster, somewhere or the other, we leave the key behind. We leave the key to happiness somewhere behind, and we realize that only when we have run too far, or only when we have climbed too high up, right? And then it becomes a little too late. So in human life, we are supposed to ask these questions, and times like these, they force us to ask these questions. Who are we? Why is there pain and suffering in the world? And what is the goal of life? Is it just about that cycle which we talked about, or is there something more to it? And that is what makes us different from animals. So if you compare animal life and human life, let us try to understand what are some similarities and differences between humans and animals. In fact, I would say in trying to find out what are the similarities, we will end up finding that actually animals are better than humans in many respects. For example, let's take swimming, right? So that there are so many animals which can swim much better than the best swimmer in the world. There are animals which are much better than the best runner in the world. There are animals which are much better than the best human as far as lifting is concerned. The animals which are much better than the best human as far as long jump is concerned. So like this, if you take several things, we actually are nowhere. Even when we compare ourselves with animals are far better than us on several things, right? Then why do we say that, oh, human life is so precious? Why do we say that human life is a gift? And actually, I'm speaking all this also in the context of the recent sad incidents which has happened, with Sushant Singh Rajput. In fact, he was my junior in my school. I'm myself a graduate from the same school. myself from San Karan. In the light of that incident, also I'm trying to talk about all these things. Wherein, so on one hand, we see that when we compare ourselves with animals, we find ourselves to be like mediocre. We don't find ourselves to be somebody great, right? There are animals who can outsmart us in several things. For example, when it comes to smelling, dogs are better than us on smelling. When it comes to seeing, eagles are better, than us when it comes to seeing. Like that. If you take each and every activity of the body, you will find one animal who is far better than humans as far as that activity is concerned. Then on one hand, and on the other hand, we see that people keep telling us, oh, human life is very precious, human life, is very precious, do not waste it, life is a gift, and these kind of poems and all that. And then we also see that how when it comes to matter of human life and death, everything else becomes meaningless, as I was telling in the beginning of this session. For example, this is another example I want to give you. That when I was working with Oracle, they used to do these drills, fire drills, every 4 months or 6 months. For government compliance, they have these norms that you have to trigger fire alarm, and the whole building should be able to gather at an assembly point in a matter of, let's say, 1 minute or something like that, right? So these companies who occupy big buildings, they have to always, every 2 months or 3 months, they have to do this fire drill to get this certificate from the government that yes, things are going well with you, that in case there is fire, the whole building can be evacuated in a matter of 1 minute or so, right? So then I very, very clearly remember how they used to tell. Typically these fire drills used to happen at 4 o'clock in the evening or something like that, sometime like this, 4:30 p.m., 5 p.m., something like that. And then most of us would know that, oh, it's a fire drill, it's not a real fire. And then as soon as the alarm would go off, we would actually take our wallet, we would try to pack our bags, we will close our laptops, and we'd then climb down. And then we were scolded by people, we were scolded by those the security people who were conducting the fire drill. They used to say that no, 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 leave your wallet, leave your laptop, leave everything and go. Don't carry anything, just go, just run, right? And that also makes you understand that when it comes to matter of life and death, then everything else loses its meaning. You may be writing some very, very important lines of code, or you may be busy with some very, very important project, or you may be doing something very, very urgent, right? But when it comes to a matter of life and death, you forget about all of that and you run to save your life. That's most important, right? That's what they teach in these fire escape plans, and things like that, right? And again, as we are seeing in this corona times as well, same thing we are seeing. Economy is less important, human life is more important, right? So then what is making this human life important? Now here is another example, right? Imagine a 30 lakhs car is colliding with a 50 lakhs car, right? Let's say they were going on high speed and a 30 lakhs car collided with a 50 lakhs car. What do you see in the news, right? Do you see in the news saying, oh, we have a very, very sad news to tell you guys. Today, what happened? 30 lakhs plus 50 lakhs, 80 lakhs worth car, got destroyed in an accident. No news channel, you take it from me in writing, no news channel says like this. Every news channel would say what? Oh, thankfully nobody got injured, or one died, two injured, and things like that. That means it's always measured with respect to loss to human life, right? That means loss. In fact, what to speak of these cars, even when aeroplanes crash, like crores of loss, right? Crores of loss. You will never see in any news channel or in any newspaper saying that, oh, so many crores got lost. You'll always see that, okay, 10 passengers got injured. Thankfully, nobody was died. Nobody was, dead, right? So again, what does this go to show? This goes to show that how human life is so important, right? Now, on one hand, we are seeing that all we are doing in human life is that boring cycle, birth to that, birth to that, birth to that, right? Which does not appear to have too much meaning when it comes to so many other things happening in life. Second, we saw that there are so many things which we are doing which animals are much better than us, they outsmart us, right? And thirdly, yet we are seeing that human life is so important, human life is so precious. What for, right? And that is where we come across something like this, and we realize that when we are saying that human beings are special, it is not in the sense of an egocentric system, right? The egocentric system tries to say that, okay, we are special, that means now we can rule over all other animals or all other species. That's not what we are trying to say when we say humans are special. What we are trying to say is the right side of the picture, the ecocentric system, right? Wherein we all are living together as species. But anyway, so human beings are special, human life is special, but what makes human life really special is what now we'll see in the next part of the presentation. I've tried to break this down into 4 things, right, which we'll try to memorize through ABCD, right? We'll try to see this through ABCD. Now, why are we discussing this? Because we all are humans, right? You are human beings, all the whatever 180, 190 participants currently attending this session, you all are incidentally human beings. I'm also human being, and let us understand what really what makes humans really special, so that we can actually live on along those lines. And when we live along those lines, we'll actually become happy. Otherwise, we'll only be frustrated more and more. So let's look into these one by one. What makes humans really special? First one is A. What is A? A means ability to inquire. Now, ability to inquire what? Remember that first cartoon, wherein the animals, the lower species, were only inquiring about eating, surviving, and reproducing, but humans were able to inquire about something higher. That okay, what is it all about? What are the higher truths of life, and so on and so forth. So that's the inquiry I'm talking about. Something which I said that these tough times like Corona or lockdown, they force us to think, okay, who am I? What is the goal of life? Why is there pain and suffering in this world? And what is the whole meaning to all this? Right? Is all this just a meaningless cycle? Or is there something more to it? So these questions, when they come from within us, that is what makes us special, more special from animals. Right? Animals cannot ask these questions. It's only human beings who can ask these questions and who can actually do something to address these questions. And therefore, no wonder that Mark Twain, I'm sure you all know this famous author, Mark Twain, he said, the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. So that is what makes a human being special. We can find out why, right? Like, when I used to teach at VIT, when I was a faculty there, I always used to, whenever I used to teach any concept, I always used to say that about a concept and three things about it. Knowing what is good, but knowing how is more important, and knowing why is even more important. Like, for example, let's say in a programming language, you have a concept called inheritance, right? Now, what is inheritance is one thing. How do you code up inheritance is another thing. But why is the whole concept of inheritance there at the very first place in a programming language is another thing, right? And those who know why, they have the best knowledge, right, of things. Similarly, when it comes to human life, right? As Mark Twain is telling here, the two most important days in life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. Why am I living? What is the purpose of my life? Right? Is my life just about, okay, one day I will meet an accident and I'll die, and I don't know what date is that going to be, or I'll meet a disease and I will die, or some earthquake will come and I'll die, because ultimately death is a reality, right? So then there has to be some higher purpose to life. And that is where we are pointed to scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, which is India's timeless classic on all facets of spiritual knowledge. So when we turn our face to these wonderful books of knowledge, then we understand that, oh, what is the big picture? And in that sense, these books are like three things: manual, map, and medicine. Please note this. This is very, very important. Our Vedic scriptures, our texts, these books of wisdom, these ancient classics, they are like the manual, they are like the map, and they are like the medicine, right? So in what sense they are like manual? For example, when you purchase a very, very complex gadget, right? Let's say you purchase, I don't know what's a complex gadget in today's world. Let's say you purchase an electronic watch, watch, right? Let's say you purchase a smart watch, right? And let's say you have never used a smart watch before, then I'm sure you would probably want to refer the manual to understand how to make the best use of it, what to do with it, what not to do with it, right? So that you can actually understand how it is to be used, so that both the watch can be happy and you can be happy, right? Similarly, this entire creation is a complex machine, right? In fact, we all ourselves also, like this body is a complex machine, and there are so many things to be understood about this entire creation, right? Both at microscopic level as well as at macroscopic level. And scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and such wonderful Vedic texts, they actually are like manual which tell us, okay, what is the big picture? What is this entire creation? What are these various planets? And what is this whole system of life and death? And what is the higher purpose? What are these different pieces of a jigsaw puzzle? When you refer to this manual, all these various pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, they come together, and they make a wonderful picture. And then we understand that, oh, now I know what is to be done in life, right? And then we get the empowerment to be able to go through the ups and downs in life as well. So in that sense, these scriptures are like manual, right? And in what sense are they like a map? What is the purpose of a map? So we all, whenever we go to an unknown place, we all switch on our Google Maps, right? We all switch on the navigation in the Google Maps. So maps, they help you to navigate your way out, right? So even if you are lost, or even if you are not lost, maps help you to navigate your way. Similarly, life is not a simple journey, right? Look at the sad case of Sushant Singh Rajput, right? He had probably everything which any youth would ever dream of, right? Yet something has happened in his life, right? Now, probably none of us know what has happened in his life, but something has happened in his life. And that is actually a fact that in each one of our lives, something or the other will always happen, because life is not just a straight, a cakewalk. Life is a set of ups and downs, right? So whenever such things happen, we need a manual with us. We need a map with us, which can actually help navigate our path. We need a lighthouse. As you have seen, I have put a picture of a lighthouse here, which can show us the direction that, oh, okay, don't worry, go proceed in this direction, keep going in this direction, things will be fine, right? So a ray of hope, like that. So manual, map. And third is medicine, right? Many a times when we feel lonely, many times when we do not have anybody to talk to, right, we can be rest assured that there is one person whom we can talk to, and that is God. That is the creator of all that exists. Many times people say, Lord, please talk to me, please talk to me, and we complain that, oh, Lord is not talking to me, God is not talking to me, but then he is indeed talking to us in the form of these scriptures, right? Bhagavad Gita is like God's love letter to us. Why not? Have you ever read, like once I was in Bangalore, and I was, preaching. I was doing some seminars in this RV College, Bangalore. I don't know if you have all heard of this college, Bangalore, RV College, Bangalore. So I was giving a seminar, and after that seminar, one boy came to me, and he was telling, "Sir, I'm sorry. Actually, I hate God." I said, "Oh, what happened? Why do you hate God?" He said, "No, God has done many bad things to me in my life. I want to know. I want to ask why He has done all this." I said, I first of all sympathize with him. I empathize with him, and I wished him well. But I also asked him that, by the way, before coming to a conclusion, before asking question to God, before hating God, and before asking him a question that why did you do this, did you ever bother to read what he had to say? Did you ever read that manual which he has given? Right? And then he understood his mistake, and he said, "Oh, sorry, I'll surely be attending, your sessions henceforth," and things like that. So Bhagavad Gita, or these books of wisdom, they are like the manuals, they are like the map, and they are the medicine, so that our ability to inquire. So that is the ability which we all have got, the ability to inquire about the higher picture, the ability to inquire about the higher truths of life. What is all this all about? Are we just made just to take birth, do struggle, do this, and then die? That's it. And then also, please note, it is not that, my dear so and so, you will die on 23rd September 2093. It's not like that. Had it been so, then okay, I would have taken a calendar and I would have, said, okay, I have this much time. I would have planned things accordingly, and then I would have died happily. That's also not the case. Anybody can actually die any moment. Anybody can die any moment. They say as sure as death. That means now, please note. On one hand, I am busy on my struggle. I'm busy struggling in my journey. On the other hand, anytime a break can come, and somebody may say time up. Then it makes everything meaningless. What is is my life a kind of a joke? Is somebody playing a prank on me? Right? To understand all these things, we need to understand, we need to read the manual to know, okay, what is the higher picture and what is all this going on, right? And then we will be able to live a very, very meaningful life, a very, very fulfilling life, without which, no matter what we can get, no matter what we get, no matter what achievements we may get, we will always have something missing, and that is going to be very, very critical. And therefore, no wonder that great personalities in the past, have always kept Bhagavad Gita at a very, very high esteem. For example, Einstein, he said, when I read the Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how God created this universe, everything else seems so superfluous. I have made the Bhagavad Gita as the main source of my inspiration and guide for the purpose of scientific investigations and formation of my theories. You see? And as we know, one more bad thing happened, when Srimati Sushma Swaraj passed away, but she used to say, I was able to face the challenges as external affairs minister only because of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Gita has answers to everybody's problems. And that's why I said it while standing in the parliament, that everyone should read 2 slokas of every day, 2 slokas of Bhagavad Gita every day. You see? So, these books of wisdom are not ordinary. On one hand, we keep questioning as to, oh, what is going on, what went wrong, what's happening, I mean, there are some people who never question. They are just living like animals. As I said, it's the ability to inquire which makes humans more special, right? In fact, there is a nice shloka in Mahabharata. I would like to repeat that. I would like to recite that shloka, and if you all can repeat after me, that will be also very nice. The shloka in Mahabharata says, आहार निद्रा भयमैथुनं च सामान्येतत् पशुभिर्नराणां धर्मो हि तेषामधिको विशेषो धर्मेण हीना पशुभिर्समानः. This is a very, very wonderful shloka which comes in Mahabharata. It says, Ahar Nidra Bhaya Maithunam Cha. Eating, ahar means eating, nidra means sleeping, bhaya means defending. That means some danger is coming and you are trying to protect yourself. You are trying to defend yourself. And mating, maitunam cha. Maitunam means mating, reproduction, carrying out reproduction. So eating, mating, sleeping, defending. Humans and animals, these are common. We also do that. Animals also do that. Dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho. It's the ability to inquire about the higher principles of life. Adhiko vishesho dharmen hina pashubir samana, which makes human beings special, and without it, human beings are like animals, which is exactly what we are discussing right now. Okay. And of course, so Bhagavad Gita is a book which actually has answers to so many questions of life. So this was the first A which I talked about, right? What did I say? What makes humans special? And when we are talking about humans being special, please note we are not talking in terms of that egocentric understanding of, I am special, that means I can boss over everybody else. No, that's not the understanding. The understanding is that, okay, we are supposed to do something different, something better, right? We are supposed to carry on a bigger responsibility, a higher responsibility. In that sense, we are discussing what makes humans special. And the first one was ability to inquire about the higher truths of life, goal of life. Who am I? Why am I suffering? Why are people suffering in this world? And what is this whole cycle of birth and death, which is actually meaningless because death can come at any time, right? So is my life a joke? And so on and so forth, right? Now, what is the second thing which makes humans special? The second thing which makes humans special is ability to search for higher levels of happiness. So animals will be happy if you give them good food. Animals will become happy. If you give them, good, sex enjoyment, animals will become very happy. That's it. That's all they are looking for. They are not looking for any other higher levels of happiness. But human beings, we have been made to look for higher levels of happiness. We cannot be satisfied just by, acha khana mil gaya, acha rehne ko mil gaya, now we are happy. No, naturally our mind will go towards some higher levels of happiness, right? That's what makes humans special. So most of us, we think that, oh, the race for money actually will make us happy. In that race, many of us, we end up just falling prey, becoming a victim of this whole trap. We think that happiness is this way, but actually it only ends up trapping us. The nature of happiness which we know of as of now is short-lived. So for example, imagine you are eating a chewing gum, right? Now, how long do you get juice out of it? Maybe for 1 minute, 2 minutes, right? After that, all juice has gone away. We are just chewing. Like that, we are chewing, right? Happiness is gone. It is short-lived. That's it, right? Similarly, like say you like pizza a lot, so you eat pizza. How long, will we derive happiness out of pizza, and how many pizzas can you eat, right? How long and how much, right? So it is short-lived. The happiness which we know of today, right now, whatever happiness we are running after, that happiness is short-lived. Now, in human life, we can think about these things and we can wonder, is there a better kind of happiness, which will not be short-lived? Another characteristic of this happiness, I would like to narrate a small story in this regard of what is the nature of the happiness which we are currently running after, right? So once there was a crow, and this crow, he was, very happy, and he was very, nicely flying in the sky, and he was very proud about himself that, okay, I'm such a nice bird, I'm able to fly here and there and all that. But one fine day, he saw a swan. And as soon as he saw a swan, the crow looked at himself, and the crow looked at the swan. Crow looked at himself, and crow looked at the swan. Crow saw that, oh, I am so ugly, I am like black. And the swan is like rin ki safedi, ekdam chakachak, Ariel surf, whatever, spotless, pakka white. And then crow became really sad, and crow approached swan. He said, oh, my dear swan bhai, you must be so happy. God has made you such wonderful, you are like spotless, shining white. And the swan said, yes, crow bhai, actually I am very, very happy, that God has made me such a beautiful bird. I'm completely spotless. I'm like this until one day when I saw a parrot. I looked at parrot, I looked at myself, I looked at parrot, and I became very sad because, I was just plain white, like a widow. And this parrot was so vibrant with such wonderful colors, green, yellow, red, whatnot. And crow said, "Arey, bekar ka aadmi hai. Chalo, let me go to parrot." And the crow, flying, he went in search of a parrot. He went to a parrot. He said, "Oh, my dear parrot bhai, aap kitne, khushkismat hai. How fortunate you are." Crow told parrot. Parrot said, yeah. Actually, I'm so fortunate. I'm so thankful to God that God has given me such wonderful colors. So crow said, oh, you must be like happiest bird on the planet, man. I mean, you must be so proud of yourself. Parrot said, yeah, actually I was very happy until one day I saw a peacock. And this parrot said, I looked at myself, I looked at peacock, I looked at myself, I looked at peacock, and then I saw that, array, my colors are nothing in front of the colors of the peacock's feather. And crow said, hey, bekar ka aadmi, chalo peacock ke paas jate. So crow went to the peacock, and but unfortunately he could not find a peacock anywhere. You don't find peacock just like that, so somebody told him, array, zoo mein jao, zoo mein milega peacock. So this crow went to a zoo, and in one cage, he saw a peacock. He was very happy to find a peacock, and he really saw, oh, how wonderful, what wonderful colors this peacock has got. And this crow approached the peacock and said, my dear peacock bhai, arey, just kasam se, I mean, just tell me how happy you must be, man. I mean, God has given you such wonderful colors. You are the most beautiful bird on this planet. How do you feel? Mic leke aisa crow ne peacock ke samne laga diya. So peacock bola, arey yaar, you are right. Actually, when I look at all these other birds, I think that how wonderful I am. But you know what? When I look at you, who are so nicely, freely flying in the sky, I see how happy you must be. So peacock is thinking how crow is happy because crow is able to fly, but these humans, they have caught me in a cage, and they have captured me in a cage, and I'm crying here like that. So the point I'm trying to make here is that the happiness which we know of in this world, the happiness which we are trying to run after, is in view. हम जहां खड़े होते हैं वहां से हमको दूसरी जगह दिखता है वहां पर हैप्पीनेस है, फिर वहां जाते हैं दिखता है वहां हैप्पीनेस है, वहां जाते हैं दिखता है वहां हैप्पीनेस है. इट इज इन व्यू, but it is out of experience. Many of us who who could get admission in our dream college, or whichever colleges you are working, studying, you must have felt so happy on day one of your college. Arey wow, mil gaya mere ko ye college. Yes, mil gaya mere ko ye college. But how long was that, did that make us happy? 2 days, 3 days? And then we were thinking, like, just a parallel of this story, right? When we all were small children, जब हम छोटे बच्चे थे, तो हम लोग को यूनिफॉर्म पहन के स्कूल जाना पड़ता था, राइट? एंड देन वी यूज्ड टू लुक एट आवर एल्डर ब्रदर्स एंड सिस्टर जो कॉलेज में पढ़ते थे, वो बिना यूनिफॉर्म के कॉलेज जाते थे, और हम लोग सोचते थे एक बार बड़ा हो जाए ना, एक बार कॉलेज में चले जाएंगे ना, देन यूनिफॉर्म नहीं पहनना पड़ेगा, कुछ भी कलर ड्रेस पहन के हम कॉलेज जाएंगे, एंड देन लाइफ विल बी झकास, लाइक दैट वी यूज्ड टू थिंक. एक बार बस कॉलेज पहुंच जाए. कॉलेज पहुंच गए, वी बिकेम वेरी हैप्पी, बट देन अगेन बैक टू स्क्वायर वन, सेम स्टोरी कंटिन्यूड, एंड वी थॉट, अरे यार ये फर्स्ट ईयर में बहुत टेंशन है, सेकंड ईयर में बहुत टेंशन है, एक बार थर्ड ईयर में, फोर्थ ईयर में जॉब लग जाए ना, once we get a job, then life will be all set, it will be all jhakas, and then we struggled hard, and then we went to third year, fourth year, job lag gayi. Abhi job lag gayi, then we see we are again back to square one, and we are thinking, अरे यार ये जॉब में बहुत पापड़ बेलना पड़ता है, एक बार थोड़ा सैलरी हाइक मिल जाए, प्रमोशन मिल जाए, then life will be झकास, life will be all set, and then we again work hard, and we go there, and then after reaching there again we realize, अरे यार वो बचपन के दिन कितने अच्छे थे, and then we go back to square one, right? So the nature of happiness of this world is like it is in view always, but it is out of experience. The human life has been made to understand about this and to focus on probably there is some other kind of happiness which is not in view, which I can actually experience. And that's why this happiness is not fulfilling enough. The current happiness, the so-called happiness which we are running after, and that has been compared to a mirage. You know what is a mirage, right? When you see illusion of water in desert or on hot roads, like up and down hot roads, you see illusion of water. That is called as mirage. So the happiness which we know of as of now is not fulfilling enough because it is illusory. And it usually comes with sufferings, right? For example, you like to eat a lot of pizzas and burgers and french fries and whatnot. Okay, eat whole day, 2-3 times a day you eat. What will happen? Next morning, what will happen? Oh, you like to smoke cigarettes. Okay, smoke cigarette. What will happen? You'll only, meet death, right? So the happiness which we know of currently usually comes with sufferings. And that is why Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says, ये ही संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनयो एवते आदि अंतवन्तु कौन्तेय न ते शूरमते बुधा. Please note, Bhagavad Gita is not a religious sentimental book. Bhagavad Gita is such a precise scientific book. Look at this shloka. This is one of my favorite shlokas from Bhagavad Gita. Here Lord Krishna is telling that this kind of happiness, which is a result of sense object coming in touch with sense, like eyes, they like to see something, ears, they want to hear something, nose, they want to smell something, right? So the happiness which comes as a result of the contact between the senses and the sense objects, right? Yehi samsparsha jab hoga. That happiness is dukkhayoneyo evate. It is pregnant with misery, right? Now when somebody is when somebody is pregnant, what does it mean? It's just a matter of time, she will give birth to a baby, right? Similarly, when somebody is pregnant with misery, somebody is pregnant with dukh, what does it mean? It's just a matter of time, dukh will be born, right? It will give birth to dukh. That's what we just saw, that this so-called happiness typically is always accompanied by some kind of a suffering, right? Dukkha yona evate. Adi antavantu kaunteya. That means it has a beginning, adi, anta, adi, anta. It has a beginning, it has an end. Adi antavanta kaunteya. Kaunteya means Arjun. Krishna is telling this to Arjun, son of Kunti. So this kind of happiness is having a beginning and it is having an end. And anything which has a beginning and choices, right? So life is a journey from birth to death. And what, whether you make it as a wonderful journey or whether you make it as a miserable journey, it depends on what choices we make. And that is where we are actually building our future. Whatever choices we make from moment to moment, day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, whatever choices we are making, those, by exercising those choices in this way or that way, we are creating a future for ourselves. Just like a labor, when he is putting bricks one after the other, एक जो मेजन होता है, जो एक लेबर होता है, जो ब्रिक्स को एक के ऊपर एक, one after the other one, he keeps the bricks, gradually he is creating a building, he is creating a room, correct? Similarly, with our every choice, we are creating a future for ourselves, right? And therefore in human life, we are not supposed to live by this Nike slogan, just do it. We are supposed to live by the slogan, think before you act, or as you sow, so shall you reap. That's what human life is about. Human life is not about just do it. That's animal life. And that's where it becomes so important to watch our inputs, because how will we exercise choices? What determines our choices, right? Now, whether you will make this choice or you will make that choice is dependent upon this pyramid. So our thoughts lead to words, words lead to actions, actions lead to habits, habits lead to character, and character shapes our future, character shapes our destiny, right? So you see how the seed of everything is in the thoughts, right? And now what shapes our thoughts? Our inputs, whatever inputs we are telling. Remember Gandhi ji ke teen mandar, bura na dekho, bura na suno, bura na bolo, something like that, right? So we should watch our inputs. We should not be with those friends who keep giving gali every second sentence, or who keep dragging us to some wrong things or wrong habits and bad things. No, we should have good friends with us who also want to do something better in life, those who don't want to go down in life, but those who want to go up in life. We should read good books, we should watch good videos, we should not read nonsense books, we should not watch nonsense videos, we should hear good audio, we should not watch nonsense, we should not hear nonsense audio. So when you watch your inputs, when you give pure inputs, like those of you who are in computer science, you must be remembering GIGO principle, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. If you give garbage to your system, what will come out of your system is only garbage. There is no surprise, right? So similarly, if we really want to make sure that we exercise good choices so that our journey of life from B to D becomes very, very wonderful and becomes glorious, then it is important that we make sure that we give good inputs to our system in form of books, in form of movies, in form of friends, in form of audio, whatever it is, it should be good. It should not be something which is not good. And the third is, the fourth is D, determination. What makes human special is because to be able to make a choice, it's not enough to know what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. That's not enough. It's also important to have the power to be able to do good, right? Many times people know that, oh, smoking cigarette is bad, but they don't have the power to be able to say no. They succumb to peer pressure. They succumb to, are wo log kya kahenge, ye kya ho gaya, things like that. That means that is a weak person, right? Now, what makes human special is that the ability to be determined to achieve the goal, right? If I know something is good, I will do that with determination. If I know something is bad, I will not do that with, I will be determined to not do it. If I know something is right, I'll be determined to do it. If I know something is wrong, I'll be determined not to do it. That is determination. And only humans can have that determination. Animals can't have. And what to speak of in current situations, when life is that much more competitive. Life, as we discussed, life is not just a straight cakewalk. Road to success, many people think it is like the left picture, but actually the road to success is like a right picture, right? And in such situations, having determination to do the right thing, having determination to stick to the right path is all the more important. Sometimes you get so tired, you just want to run away from everything. Like fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours. Now, how do we get the determination to face everything and rise, right? First of all, we should have a right definition of success. Look at this picture. This fellow who has come first, the boy who has come first, is crying. and the boy has come third because of his attitude. He's so positive, right? He is so happy. He is thinking, he knows, first Rana is not the goal of life. And there are people who are committing suicide after coming first, right? That means there is something else in life, right? Of course, if I can, I will surely come first. Why not? It's not that deliberately I'll not come first. But if I am not able to come first in life, right, I don't have to, become depressed as if now there is nothing remaining in life. No, we should have a right definition of success. And as we have discussed, life is, will always have ups and downs. Nobody can ever imagine a life, wherein he has no turns or he has no ups and downs. Life is always full of, sharp turns, left turns, right turns, ups and downs. And Lord Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita, what should we do when we face ups and downs of life? He is telling we should tolerate. We should tolerate the dualities of this world. And he is telling that we should do our best and leave the rest. We should have faith in God. We should have faith in the Almighty, that we should always stick to the right path. Now, how do we know what is the right path? By reading the manual, Bhagavad Gita. We cannot think of a right path on our own. That, I am a thief. For me, chori karna is the right path. Because chori karna mera kartavya hai. तो मैं एक चोर हूँ, चोरी करना मेरा कर्तव्य है, that is the right path. No, we have to understand the manual properly so that we know what is the right path, what is good, what is right, what is bad, what is wrong, and then we have the determination to do the right thing, and then we leave the rest to the Almighty. And that is how we will be peaceful even amidst struggle. And that's why Lord Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita that when we understand that the Supreme Lord is our best friend, we are not anath, we are not orphan. We are not orphan in this world. We have a supreme being, the supreme Almighty God, always with us. Bhoktaram yakitapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhrada sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. A person in full consciousness of me, Lord Krishna is telling this in Bhagavad Gita. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate enjoyer of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the manufacturer and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. You see? So just think of a small child who is trying to cross a road. Let's say there is a 4-year-old boy. A 4-year-old boy, he is trying to cross a very, very busy highway road. And imagine two cases. Case one, he is an orphan. He has no elderly person around him to help him cross the road. What will be his situation? He will try to take one step. Zoom, one car will come, and he'll be taken aback. He'll go back again. He'll try to go. Zoom, he'll be just lost. He'll be frustrated. He'll be disappointed. He'll feel like committing suicide. Finish. What is this? On the other hand, imagine there is a 4-year-old boy who is holding hands of his parents. He will be eating ice cream and peacefully he'll cross the road. Why? Because he is holding hands of his parents and parents are crossing the road, right? So that's the differentiator. When you become a God conscious person, when you understand God more and more, when you make God as a center of your life more and more, then when your connection with God becomes more and more powerful, then you become empowered by God to be able to face the ups and downs of life without any problem. And that gives us a sense of peace. So with this, I would like to end, but I would like to end with a very small parting message. I had received this picture on WhatsApp, and this was more in context of the social distancing and breaking the chain and things like that. So certainly one message which I want to give you all is please stay away, stay safe, right? So that, you don't become a carrier of Corona around. But even more important message which I want to give to you is let us be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. 20 years back when I attended a session like this, I asked this presenter that, okay, sir, what you have said is very wonderful, but the world is going in a wrong direction. How can I change the problems of the world? How can I solve the problems of the world? And this person told me something so inspiring that I have never forgotten till date. He told me that, yes, you can't solve all problems of the world, but at least you can make a choice whether to want to continue to be a part of the problem or to now become a part of the solution, right? So we should take a step and become a part of the solution and stop continuing to be a part of the problem. Okay, so with this, I would like to end. Thank you very much. Let me do a quick recap of what we have discussed very quickly. Let's go over whatever we discussed. First, we talked about how we are going through a tough time, right? And these tough times have forced us to think that, oh, those very things which we consider to be so important in life, now all of a sudden they have lost value. They have lost meaning when it comes to a matter of life and death. Now that means is there, and then anytime somebody may say, okay, tan ghanta baj gaya, matter over, then what was I doing all this while? Was my life a joke? So all these questions, humans, they come across, and all these other observations which we made, right? And then we saw that, oh, this is exactly what makes us special. We saw how when it comes to so many other things, animals, they outsmart humans, and yet people say human life is so precious. We see that when it comes to matter of life and death, everything else becomes meaningless, right? So what is it that makes humans special, right? We saw that there are 4 things which makes humans special. A, ability to inquire, right? What inquire? What? Who are we? Why are we suffering? What is pain? Why is pain in this world? What is the goal of life? What is the big picture? What is all this going on, right? All this, right? And then we saw that in that we have to take shelter of the classic books of wisdom like Bhagavad Gita, which is like the manual, map, and medicine, all 3. And then we saw that how such books, they actually can answer many questions of our life. Then we saw the second specialty, what makes humans special, and that was search for higher levels of happiness, right? The so-called happiness which we are running after right now is actually only temporary. It is short-lived, it is illusory. That means it is in view but out of experience, and almost always it is accompanied with some sufferings, right? And that's what is also being confirmed by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. On the other hand, human beings are supposed to work towards some higher levels of happiness, which are mentioned in that manual of Bhagavad Gita about what that higher levels of happiness are. And then we saw third point, C, choices. We saw life is a journey, and whether this journey is going to be a good journey or a bad journey, satisfying journey or a miserable journey, depends on what choices we make. And we saw that every choice we make actually builds a future. And we saw that, okay, how can we empower ourselves to make the right choices? We can empower ourselves to make the right choices by making sure that our thoughts are right. And how can we make sure that our thoughts are right? By making sure that we are not giving bad inputs to our system in form of books, in form of videos, in form of audio, in form of our company. A man is known by the company he keeps, in form of association, right? So we should give good inputs to our system so that we have good thoughts, and thoughts ultimately lead to our future. And then the last D, we saw that what makes humans special, it's not enough to know what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, but we should also have the necessary courage and determination to be able to do the right thing, right? And to be able to tolerate all the ups and downs of life by having the right definition of success. And if we are God conscious, we will not be like an orphan who is trying to struggle all alone and who is only ending up with frustrations and disappointments, but we will be like that child who is holding the hands of his parents. If we, to the extent we become God conscious, to that extent we become peaceful and happy. And then towards the end, I said that let us take one step to make sure that we stop being a part of the problem and we continue and we start being a part of the solution. Thank you very much. So, Aman, I'm done.
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for this enlivening session. It has actually given us a direction, a hope, and it has also made us fearless. I think most of us can really feel it was like 160 words per minute. That was the speed, so it was so bombastic. It was a really nice session.
I hope it was clearly audible, and people were able to understand me. I don't know.
Yes, at least I think all of us were fully engrossed in the session. Yes. So now there are a few questions. Also, I would like to remind to the audience that there would be a test, a short quiz regarding the session, which the backend team has prepared. So we'll conduct that after around 10-15 minutes. So we'll take a few questions, sir. So
yes, let us have some questions. Yes. Or anybody has any more comments? Yeah. Sure, please go ahead.
The comments are very nice, but I'll be asking a few questions which the students have shared. So first question is from Amit Raj from SAE. He asks how to deal with depression.
Good question, Amit. So the question is how to deal with depression. So Amit, as I said, of course, these questions are not something which can be answered very quickly because it depends upon so many things like, what somebody may be going through in life, because we cannot just say that, this person is a fool that he is, having a depression. There can be so many genuine reasons because of which one can be in depression. But let me just try to give some 2-3 simple points how one can tackle depression. Point number 1, by having a right definition of success. Typically, depression is triggered by failure, is it not? Right? When one kind of meets some failure in some way, either failure in relationships or failure in career or failure in profession, failure in family, failure in terms of economy, right? Whatever. So it is some kind of failure which typically triggers depression. So if we can have the right definition of success, that life is not a sprint, it is a marathon, right? Life is not in the race won, it is in the race run. So when we understand the real value of life, when we understand the big picture, when we understand what is the real goal of life, then we will be more empowered to take care of the ups and downs in life properly, right? And then there'll be, we will never ever be bothered with things like depression. That is number one. And number two, when we have a help available, it's very, very important to have a help available, right? And the best help, is in the form of those who are very, very strongly connected to God, because the help of God is the most important and most powerful help which is available to all of us in this world. And of course, now it is a matter of details that how can we access the help of God. I'm sure if you continue attending these sessions, and if you continue to be in touch with the facilitators and volunteers who are, through whom you are connected, then I'm sure, you will come across more details, more and more details about this, right? So two things I told you, Amit, to answer the question. One, by having a right definition of success, by having a bigger picture of life. It is not a sprint, it is a marathon. The success in life is not in the race won, but in the race run, right? And second, by getting access to the higher power of God. Yes, Aman.
Yes, sir. That was a very nice answer, sir. So I think Amit would definitely be satisfied. Second question is from Shreya Matade. She asks that it is said life is a dream for the wise, a game for the fool, a comedy for the rich, and tragedy for the poor. How far does it add to the fact of life? Your
Yes.
comments.
So, Shreya, this is a very thoughtful, very, very nice question. It's a very thoughtful question. And I would actually say that it's to some extent true. The only problem is, it's true as it appears based on our observations around in the world, right? But actually, that's not a reality. When we see the world, so I'll give you a small analogy. Let's say one CBI agent, right, comes to Bombay, right? When a CBI agent comes to Bombay and he has come on a particular mission, he has come on a mission to, let's say, investigate about a particular terrorist attack, right? Now, when he is roaming around in the roads of Bombay, he is looking at Bombay from a different perspective. He is looking at Bombay from a different set of eyes. Unlike a villager, let's say a villager comes to Bombay, and when villager comes to Bombay, he looks at some big buildings, he looks at a water park, he looks at this, he looks at that. He is seeing Bombay from a different perspective. But when a CBI agent who has come on a mission, when he looks at Bombay, he is looking from a different perspective, right? Similarly, when you look at this world, one way to look at this world is, based on what these eyes are showing you, based on, what is appearing externally, based on what you are seeing from surface. And the other way to look at the world is from the eyes of that person who has created the world, right? So when you look at the world from the perspective of the creator, Shastra Chakshu, that is what is called as Shastra Chakshu. When you read these books of wisdom, then you see the world from the eyes of wisdom. And when you will see the world from the eyes of wisdom, then things will make much more sense. Yes, Aman.
Yes, sir. The next question is from Shubham Kumar. He asks, how to know what are short-lived happiness?
Okay. So see, short-lived happiness means, in fact, any happiness which is at the level of body. So, Bhagavad Gita teaches us that how we are actually not the body. We are soul, spirit, soul. And it is very, very simple to understand. Imagine I continue speaking like this for 4 hours, right? The laptop which is there in front of me will continue staying where it is, but you all will go away. Why? Because you are not laptop, you are not matter, you are soul, you are a spirit soul, right? So we see two things in this world, matter and spirit, right? Living beings and non-living beings. Is it not? That was our first science class, in maybe grade 5 or grade 6, right? Make 2 columns, living beings and non-living beings, right? So this world has both living beings and non-living beings. And now, so what was the question? Sorry, what was the question?
Question is that how do we know what are the short-lived happiness?
Short-lived happiness. Yeah, exactly. So now, when that happiness which is coming to us because of our body, right, and things connected to body, all that is short-lived, right? And now, what do I mean by short-lived? It means it has a beginning and it has an end. Now, take any happiness, for example. Let's say I take happiness by eating pizza, right? How long that happiness lasts? 2 minutes, 3 minutes? In fact, if I overeat, then that happiness will soon convert into misery, right? Or let's say I become happy by, cracking JEE, right? So I cracked JEE, I got into IIT. How long I was happy? Maybe 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and there was continuing. Then came the struggle of studying in IIT, correct? So So you take any example which is not rooted in soul, right? That you will see will be short-lived. Short-lived in the sense it could be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 1 hour, 1 month, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 years, but it will be having a beginning and an end. That's the meaning of short-lived.
Yes, sir. The next question is again from Shreya. The next question is from Akash Kumar. It says that sometimes people are forced to do bad things, like a thief is probably stealing because of his bad situation. So, what's its justification?
This is very true. This is very true that sometimes somebody's situations may force one to do bad things, and that is where we are supposed to get enough training so that even when we go through, so if I go through a bad situation, will I kill my father? Right? So though we sympathize with such people that okay, circumstances force them to do something wrong, we also understand the that much more need to get training at the right time, so that even when tough times come, we still do the right thing, right? So tough times don't justify doing the wrong thing. That's the real meaning of character, correct? I mean, if I start behaving nonsense, if I start doing all kinds of wrong things when tough times come to me, then what kind of character do I have? History has it that those who are men of great character, in fact, that is a test of greatness, that even when tough situation comes, you don't lose your character. You don't start doing wrong things, right? So on one hand, certainly we sympathize, and that is why I think whoever asked this question, so that's why it is said we should hate the sin, not the sinner. So let's say some terrorist is doing something wrong. I will not hate him. I will hate the activity which he is doing. Hate the sin, not the sinner. I will hate the activity which he is doing. As far as he is concerned, I'll try to tell him, my dear friend, you are doing a wrong thing. This is not the way. You are only going to increase your problems in future, right? So two things. Number one, we have sympathy for such a person. We don't approve of his actions, but we hate the sin, but we don't hate the sinner, and we try to bring him on the right path. That's one. And secondly, we learn a lesson that is why it is important to build our character more and more, so that even when tough times come, we still do the right thing and we don't take to the wrong thing.
The next question is by Mayank. He asks that how would I get to know what the purpose of my life is? I mean, I wake up to do something and just it happens like this and it repeats. It is mere a donkey job. Please elaborate.
Very good question, Mayank. That is the purpose of human life. Vedanta Sutra begins by saying Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa means now that you have become a human being, now please inquire. What is the purpose of life? Is the purpose of life just to wake up in the morning and whole day work like a donkey and then sleep, just to wake up next morning and you're one day gone from life? Is that the purpose of life, or is there something more? Is life more meaningful than this, right? This is precisely what was the subject matter of today's topic, Mayank. And how do we know about it? Okay, so we will know about it by system. So how did we know about physics? How did we know about chemistry? How did you know water is 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen? Right? We knew that by attending school, by attending college, right? Similarly, for this entire spiritual science, there is college, there are books, and there are professors, right? So we have to get in touch with the right college, right books, and right professor. And through this, we will get more and more understanding. And let me tell you the good news, you are already in touch with a combination like this. Just stay on, just carry on, and gradually, just like we did not understand the water molecule, that it is made up of 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen in day 1 of our school. Similarly, this also we will not understand in day 1 of the school. Gradually, we'll go through these sessions and we'll understand each and everything one by one.
That is a very enlightening answer. Next question is from Nisarg Nimbalkar. He asks, what is the difference between happiness and satisfaction according to you?
Okay, so Nisarg, this is again a good question. Happiness and satisfaction. So they are kind of related. Satisfaction means to be able to be happy in whatever is coming in my life, right? To be happy. So for example, let's say I do my best. I studied very hard, but I failed in my exam. Now, will I be happy? No, surely I'll not be happy. I mean, I failed in my exam, right? But will I be satisfied? I'll be satisfied in the sense that I did my best, right? I'll not be depressed, right? I'll not feel like committing suicide. I'll not feel depressed. I'll be satisfied, and I would rather want to do better next time, right? So that is what is the meaning of satisfaction, that okay, no matter what is happening in my life, right? I don't go in the extreme of hankering, or I don't go in the extreme of lamenting. I remain satisfied, right? Hankering, you hanker for that which you don't have, and you lament for that which you have lost, right? Both are not very good. We should be satisfied in the present and we should make plans to improve our future, and we should learn from the past. We should not lament for the past, we should learn from the past. We should not hanker for the future, we should plan for the future. And if we do like this, we'll be satisfied in the present. That is satisfaction.
The next question is asked by Abhishek Lande. He says, why is calm an enemy?
Okay, so Abhishek, so this means you have kind of read little bit of these literatures, because calm word is not typically used in general in our language. But by calm, what we mean is lust. Okay, lust. Somebody has come up with a nice full form of lust, L-U-S-T, lessened understanding of spiritual truths. So calm, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking, there are three enemies which we have: Kam, Krodh, and Lobh. In fact, Lord Krishna is telling them to be three gateways to hell: Kam, Krodh, and Lobh. Kam means lust, Krodh means anger, and Lobh means greed. Lord Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, these are the three gateways to hell. Now you are asking about Kam. So why Kam is a gateway to hell? Because it helps to increase the illusion which we are in currently. Currently, we are in an illusion that we are this body. Actually, we are not this body. We are a spirit soul, right? But currently in this world, we are in an illusion that we are in this body. And when we pursue lust, that only helps to increase this illusion all the more. It is like you are already in a jail and you are only increasing your duration of the jail. It's like this. And by the way, there is something unique about lust. When you fulfill lust, it becomes greed, and when you don't fulfill lust, it becomes anger. And that's where lust gives rise to both greed and anger, and therefore these three have been called as gateways to hell.
Thank you very much, sir. Actually, sir, I wanted to make an announcement now.
Okay.
There's a quiz for the session you gave. So the team has prepared a quiz to see how much have
Amazing.
This was happening in the back end. So I'll be posting the.
So are we done with the questions? Are we done with the? Are we
no,
done with
sir,
the
actually,
questions then, Aman?
No, sir. There are a lot of questions because the session was
Okay.
very nice, and so I'll
Okay.
launch the quiz. So the students who don't have questions, they can take the quiz, and if you want to listen to the answers, they can come back. So, so if you have time, then you can continue the question answers.
I'm just thinking that, so it is 5:44. Maybe another 5 minutes.
Okay, okay.
I can be there for another 5 minutes.
Okay, 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 sir. So we'll take a few more questions, and
Yes.
I'll be launching the quiz on the backside. Okay, thank you. The students can go to the link and solve the questions. And so and there are some more questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ayush Singh is asking from SCOE. So what do you think about mental health? Why we aren't having classes for mental health? Suicides becoming more these days in colleges, especially. Why is it so?
Very important. Very important. In fact, so if you remember when we were children, we used to have a subject called moral science. Now they don't have that subject anymore, but they have something called as environmental science, because people have become more and more conscious and aware of environment now. But environment is of two types: external environment and internal environment. And when you are talking about mental health, it actually talks about our inner environment, and it is very, very important to keep inner environment very clean and healthy, right? In fact, I always like this formula, HHH formula. If you all like, you all can remember this formula, that in life we should be HHH. First H is healthy. Healthy means disease-free body. Second H is happy. Happy means disease-free mind. And third H is holy. Holy means disease-free soul, right? So when we are disease-free body, we are healthy. When we have disease-free mind, we are happy. So therefore, mental health is very important. Now, coming to why there are no classes and courses for mental health, that's a very sad state. But the good news is, increasingly, all the universities of the world, all the schools of the world, they are actually realizing the importance of mental health more and more. And increasingly, these things are becoming a part of this curriculum more and more. And people like us, people like these organizers, we all are actually trying our best to, help the governments and help the organizations in this way. In fact, this very session is exactly about mental health. What do you think means by personality development workshop in our case? In our case, when we are talking about personality development, we are not talking about how to walk, how to talk, how to smile. We are talking about mental health, and that is the origin of personality. And we are going to take it one more step further, by the way, because it is said personality opens the door to success, but character keeps it open. So we are not going to leave it only till mental health and personality. We are going to take it one more step ahead to character, which will actually keep the door to success open. Otherwise, personality only opens the door to success, right? So we'll see that.
Yeah. Next question, Radha Govindwar is asking, how to deal with multitasking when everything comes at once?
Uh, that's the unfortunate situation of the fast paced life which we all are in. There's so many things come at once, but then that's where we have to learn from such experts like Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the biggest CEOs of the world. They have, I mean, we have hardly any responsibilities in life currently, and there are people who have such responsibilities on their shoulders which you can't even imagine, and yet they also have 24 hours and we also have 24 hours. How they are able to do it? They're able to do it by mind control. Hmm? If you are saying, if you are always thinking with respect to your mind that अरे मेरा मन कर रहा है अभी ये करने का तो चलो ये करते हैं, मेरा मन ये करने का नहीं कर रहा है तो ये नहीं करते हैं, then you are gone, then you can't do time management. The key to time management or multitasking is mind control. And how will we get mind control? By doing mantra meditation. So if you stay connected to these sessions, soon you will learn some mantra meditation techniques, and by those mantra meditation techniques you will learn to control the mind, and by that controlling of mind you will be able to do multitasking.
That is a very nice answer. So, one question is asked by Saurav Kumar: How to achieve our dreams in life? Many times I tried, but I failed. So,
Okay.
motivate on.
So good. Yeah, the intent is good, sort of. All of us, we like to, dream, and we like to achieve dreams in life. I would like to share one thing which I think APJ Abdul Kalam says in this regard. He says, dream is not what we see when we are asleep. Dream is what which does not let me sleep. you know so one thing which I would like to say in this regard is, just dream is not enough. We need to actually work hard towards fulfilling a dream. Point number one. Point number two, it is said that a goal without a plan remains a wish, right? A goal without a plan remains a wish. So if we have made certain goals in life, we have to make plans, tangible plans to achieve those goals. And point number three, even more important, which I would like to say, that we have to first of all understand what are the right goals to make. Otherwise we will be making wrong goals, like as you said, as you saw in the slides, right? The wrong definition of success and the right definition of success. Sometimes we make wrong goals in our life, and we work hard towards achieving those goals with the end result of only frustration, right? So therefore it is important to understand what are the right goals we should make in our life and how to fulfill them in the right way. So all these three things are important, and if you stay connected to these sessions, gradually you will come to know all these things one by one. And mind control, by the way, helps in fulfilling our dreams, because if mind control is not there, so Bhagavad Gita says that who is a real Superman, right? A real Superman is not one who wears red underwear over blue dress. That's not a real Superman, right? A real Superman is one who actually can say no to his mind, right? And the more when we learn to say no to our mind, then we'll see we can do a lot more in life.
There is another very important question. I think this will
Yes.
take as the last question.
Okay, we'll take this last question.
Shubham Kumar is asking: Is Bhagavad Gita the only book to happiness?
No, Sohan, not like that. It's not that Bhagavad Gita is the only book to happiness, but Bhagavad Gita is considered to be one of the topmost scriptures in the world, which has been regarded very, very highly by religionists, by spiritualists, by scientists, by everybody. And there are so many other books, like for example, even Bible, right? If one reads Bible in the right with the right understanding, only thing is books like Bible, they have been changed so many times that you don't know whether what the version which you are reading is how authoritative that is. On the other hand, if you see the Sanskrit shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, though there are more than 800 editions of Bhagavad Gita all over the world, the Sanskrit shlokas have remained unchanged, right? But then again, reading a book is not enough. More important than book is the teacher, right? For example, imagine, so if you see any IIT ka website, let's say IIT Kharagpur or IIT Bombay ka website, I'm sure you can just download the curriculum of computer science department along with the books and the authors, right? But if you read those books at home, will you get the BTech degree from IIT Bombay? You will not, right? That means books are not everything. Teachers and college is also very, very important, right? So therefore, Bhagavad Gita is certainly one of the books. There are many other books as well which can actually show us the way to happiness. But all these books taken together is also not enough, because more important is college and the professors who can actually teach the book. Otherwise, I know people who are reading Bhagavad Gita and who are committing crime, right? They are thinking that okay, Bhagavad Gita is teaching me work is worship, so I am a chore, I am a thief. My चोरी करना मेरा कर्तव्य है. कर्मण्येवा अधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. चोरी करना मेरा कर्तव्य है, चोरी करना ही मेरे लिए वर्शिप है, मेरे लिए पूजा का काम है, तो मैं उससे चोरी कर रहा हूं. तो भगवद गीता पढ़ के हम चोरी भी कर सकते हैं, right? That's why it's important to read these books under proper guidance. And yes, Bhagavad Gita is not the only book. There are many other books.
Yes, I think that's a very nice answer, holistic answer. And I think with this, we there are many questions, sir, but we'll not take more of your time.
Yes, maybe we
So,
can, yeah, we can take them offline through emails and things like that. Okay,
yes,
so I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you. Thank you, Aman, for inviting me for this talk, and thank you all the participants. I was very, very happy and enthusiastic and fortunate and privileged to be amidst all of you. And I hope I have been able to serve you in some small capacity. Thank you very much. All the best for the journey of your life.
thank you very much, sir. So can we all have a big round of applause for sir in Zoom style?
Zoom style. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
So now the participants, you all can have you all taken the quiz? If yes, then please give me a thumbs up. Yes, I see many of you have taken the quiz. And so, how did you all like today's session? Oh, so the replies are very astounding. Yes, Jayant. Okay, so if you all have taken the quiz, I think that will be the end of it. So we'll have more amazing sessions now ahead, and we'll also keep some more time for question and answers because there are a lot of question answers you all have. So we'll try to keep the session a little shorter, and questions and answers we'll keep more. Okay, so all of you who have taken the test and are done with it, there are no more announcements to make. You may leave the meeting. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much. Also today we had a lot a new a lot many friends from Symbiosis and Parala Maharaj Engineering College, Orissa. So I hope you all like the session too, along with the ones who are already there, the other institutes. Are there more students who have not yet given the quiz? So you all can. I'm just waiting for your attendance. You all can put your time out and leave. Uh, I would end the meeting in another 4 minutes. I think that should be it. I hope all of you have put your attendance. I would be ending the meeting now. Om, Siddhant, Ritik, Anirudh, Ritesh, Atul, Lakshmikant, Soumya, Soumeshri, Vishal, Prince, Satyam,